Oh, hey y'all, we back with the other segment of Jonathan Quillis, Uncle Jonathan Quillis Day by trial. I guess when he go back there in the back, y'all, he have to change it to his official uniform, and then he'll put on his court clothes.
Let's go back on the record. 19 CF 7518. I have counsel for the state defense and Mr. Quilles present. So I was able to talk with the attorneys during the break regarding scheduling with the jury, and I'll address that with the jury when they come back out. But I think we have a good game plan, and we'll obviously reconvene about it at the end of today. But I think we have a good game plan going forward that everybody agrees to. Mr. Davis, Ms. Michelle, if you need to talk to your client more about that and address me, and then we can talk about it later on as well, but I certainly will give you time to do so. But nonetheless, I think we're in a better spot than we were an hour and a half ago. State, so obviously I'm aware of your next witness and then your second witness this afternoon. I'm going to look to you to let me know when a good time is to take a break during the middle of your second witness, because I don't want the jury sitting there for 3 straight hours.
So, Judge, if this inmate is relatively a normal witness, the second one's quick, we prefer to start with George Jackson and start the wire. It's long, so if maybe at the hour mark of that.
I'm sorry. I said seconds. I meant the witness regarding the wire.
Yes, sir.
I want to start that witness before we take our mid-afternoon break. Give me a look as to when you want to stop the audio. You have an idea of that. And that way I'll give the jury a break during the middle of that. I am going to tell the jury during the audio, feel free to stand up and stretch at whatever portion they want to during that, so we can elongate that process.
Well, just to decide that now to save time, if it's around your normal break time and it's about halfway through, if the court says it's time to take a break, we'll stop it.
Just let me know. I'm not sure what the audio is going to say specifically, so
okay.
Just give me a good, just look, give me a look and stop it on your own, and I'll give you a look as well. That way it's a natural breaking point during the audio, so I'm not breaking up in something that's critical for you. And we do have copies of the transcripts that the jury will be given per stipulation of the parties. Anything else we need to handle before we call the jury in?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis?
Just have 1 second. Is there?
Sure.
You guys were talking. I just wanted to schedule that.
Okay. We're ready to round. Okay. And the jury back in, please.
Count.
Jury re-enters the court.
As a jury, welcome back. You guys may have a seat. Obviously, I'm in receipt of your note and will certainly abide by your wishes in that regard. You gave a time on Friday of 6. That time also for today and tomorrow, or is it can be a little bit later? The next couple. Okay, a little bit later. Okay, that's helpful. Talking to the attorneys, I think we'll be able to do quite a bit today. We'll know more this afternoon, and so I feel the only unknown factor is how long deliberations take. Guilty, not guilty, guilty of a lesser included. So as you can understand, I trust you guys understand that I have to make preparations one way or another, not knowing what may happen. And that's all we're trying to do. So I certainly appreciate you guys. The attorneys have been great working that out with me in the midst of a case up like this. So I appreciate everyone's cooperation in that regard. But we're going to get going this afternoon. With that said, State, you may call your next witness.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Damion Hatch.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, Mr. Hatch, come over here to your right. Roger, step as you come forward. If you need a glass of water, let us know. We'll do our best to accommodate you, of course. If there's an objection made during the course of your testimony, I just ask that you pause, let me roll on the objection. We'll go from there, and we can lower the microphone for him. Just use that microphone to kind of project your voice so everyone can hear what you're saying, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. With that said, Mr. Skinner, you may inquire. You're ready.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Will you state your name for the jury, please?
Damion Jerome Hatch.
You spell Damion.
D-A-M-I-A-N.
How old are you, sir?
I'm 39.
Will you tell this jury where you're currently residing?
Right now I'm at Baker County.
At one point in time, were you residing in the pre-trial detention facility, commonly referred to as the Duval County Jail?
The last in 2022.
All right. Were you in custody on at the pretrial detention facility starting in July of 2019 until you sit here today?
Yes, sir.
Sir, are you convicted felon?
Yes, sir.
And how many felony convictions do you have?
2.
All right. Now, when you were at the pretrial detention facility, also known as the Duval County Jail, did you meet, sir, an individual by the name of Jonathan QUILES?
Yes, sir.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
You point him out for our jury and give us an idea of where he's seated and an article of clothing he's wearing, please. You state for the record.
He's sitting over there, sir.
What color shirt?
Blue.
Is he wearing glasses?
Yes, sir.
Is he on the far right of the courtroom as he relates to you?
Yes, sir.
Seated next to counsel.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may the record reflect he's identified the defendant.
So reflect.
Thank you, sir. How did you meet the defendant at the pretrial detention facility?
We was in the same part.
And will you define what you mean by that?
We was living in the same dorm,
Right.
living area.
I want to talk to you about what a dorm is. Will you explain for our jury first, are there multiple bunks within a dorm, or how's it situated, please?
It's a gang of cells in one dorm.
All right. Do you know approximately how many cells are in a dorm?
Probably about 20, 30.
And approximately how many individual inmates are in each cell?
It's 3 per cell.
Are there time periods within your dorm that the inmate cells are open,
Yes, sir.
where you can come and go freely?
Yes, sir.
Were you in any kind of group with the defendant at the pretrial detention facility?
Yes, sir.
What kind of group were you in with him?
Bible study.
Right.
Bible study.
Did you start and join a group of a Bible study around the time period of July of 2019?
Yes, sir.
Approximately.
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long did you remain in that group?
I was in that group for probably like some months.
All right, some months. Is that what you said?
Yeah, some months.
All right. Did this Bible study group meet on a daily basis?
Yes, sir.
Was the defendant in that group?
Yes, sir.
Approximately how many total were in this particular group?
I want to say about 15.
Where did that particular Bible study take place? Was it within the dorm itself? Where was it?
It was in the day room,
All right, what is that?
like a common area where all of us be at.
Okay. During the time period, I think you described it as months on a daily basis, did you get to know the defendant in that group?
Yes, sir.
Did you befriend him?
Yes, sir.
Did you get along with him?
Yes, sir.
Did you and him talk often?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree that you would speak to him every day?
Yes, sir.
Now, were you in the same, what you're calling a cell with him, or were you in a separate cell?
Separate, sir.
Were you both in the same pod or the same dorm, as you call it?
Yes, sir.
While you were in the same pod or the same dorm, were you able to talk with him as you walked freely amongst a particular pod or dorm?
Yes, sir.
Did you do that on a daily basis?
Yes, sir.
Did you become friendly with him during that time period?
Yes, sir.
And again, this was dating back to July of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did there come a time, Mr. Hatch, where the defendant opened up to you and start talking to you about his case?
Yes, sir.
You know approximately, best you can, when that happened.
2022, February.
All right, so early of 2022.
Yes, sir.
Had you been in the same pod or cell, as you call it, with the defendant dating back to 2019?
Yes, sir.
Is that approximately almost 3 years you were together? Is that true, sir?
Yes, sir.
See him on a daily basis?
Yes, sir.
Always maintain a good relationship with him?
Yes, sir.
Always friendly with him?
Yes, sir.
Now, first tell us, what did you notice about him that caused you to ask him something? Did you notice anything by his outward appearance that drew your concern?
Yeah, something was wrong. Something was not bothering him. He was looking down and emotional that day.
Right. And when you say looking emotional, can you describe with any kind of detail? Was he kind of sulking about? Was he visibly upset? Kind of describe for us what you saw that said he looked down to you.
He's just looking not normal, not happy, not smiling.
Thank you, sir. Did these observations that you made, did it cause you to then ask him, was there anything wrong?
Yes, sir.
Was it just the two of you present, the best you can recall?
Yes, sir.
And where specifically? Was it in the dorm? Were you standing in someone's bunk? Where was it?
In the day room.
All right. Were there other inmates around? At least, maybe not within earshot, but at least just around.
Yes, sir.
Was it just the two of you talking, though?
Yes, sir.
When you asked him if anything was wrong, well, just tell the jury, what specifically did you ask him?
I just asked him what was wrong.
All right. And did he respond immediately? He started talking to you about it.
He kind of paused and then responded.
All right. Sir, the best you can, based on the response that he gave you, will you tell this jury what he said to you?
Say he had sex with his niece.
All right. And did he say anything happened as a result of them having sex?
She became pregnant.
All right. Did he say her name at all, best you can recall?
No, sir.
All right. Did he say what, if anything, he wanted to do once she got pregnant?
He wanted her to get rid of the baby.
What, if anything, did he say about his wife finding out?
She would be very upset when she found out.
Did he mention whether he had any other children?
Yeah, he said he had a daughter and soon a newborn son at the time.
All right. Did he say whether his niece was wanting to get rid of the baby?
Yes, sir.
Did he say the family was supporting her and trying to get her to have the baby? Anything like that? Best you can recall.
No, he said that about it.
All right. Now, with respect to his niece, did there come a time period where she made the decision not to get rid of the baby? Did he tell you that?
Yes, sir.
All right. What, if anything, did he say with respect to when she decided to have the baby and not get rid of the baby?
She said she gonna she not gonna get rid of it. She gonna run away with the baby.
Did he tell you how he was going to try to get her to run away?
He was like, she was gonna run away, and she called him that morning, and he told her where to meet him. And then when they met up, he just started choking her and
Go ahead.
threw her body in the dumpster.
All right. Did he say, first and foremost, when they talked, where they were supposed to meet up that day?
At his work, at his job.
At his work? At a yes?
Yes, sir.
Make sure our record's clear. Did he say where he worked?
I don't remember exactly.
All right. Did he say how he was trying to get her to meet him up with him at work?
Yeah, it was a secret spot, at his work spot.
Right.
And
Did he define what?
Saying he wanted, he told her to tell nobody and go to the Pacific spot at the job.
What was he telling you that he told her they were going to do once they met up? What did he tell her?
He told her to meet up, and then after they meet up, I guess
Don't guess. Tell me what he said.
he just said meet up at the spot. Then when they meet up, don't tell no one. Then when they met up, that's when he choked her. And then she said she wasn't dying. Then he pulled his gun out and shot her.
All right. Did he say where he pulled his gun out and shot her?
He said in the same spot they met up at.
The words he used were a secret spot at work. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What, if anything, did he tell you with what he did with her once he shot her?
He said just once he shot her, he threw her body in the dumpster.
You say where that dumpster was?
I guess at the one at the job site.
Don't guess. I'm asking you what he told you about where that dumpster
Oh, the
was.
dumpster that was right there at the time.
At his work?
Yes, sir.
Did he say he had told anybody else? Did he name his brother to you?
He ain't never say the name.
All right. Did he tell you he told his brother what he did?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Hatch, what, if anything, did he say about whether that baby was actually his? Did he say it was?
Yes, sir.
Did he say anything about this particular niece having a sibling or any other siblings?
He said she had a sister, and he was having sex with the sister too.
Judge, at this time, would you court, because we're going to dive into that a little bit, will you just read that instruction one more time, just out of abundance of caution?
For those who just watching, we on day CINCO trial. Inmate snitched on Jonathan,
SS?
Uncle Jonathan.
Yes, sir.
QUILES.
Members of the jury, this is the same instruction I gave you yesterday prior to SS testifying. I'm going to reread it to you, given the testimony you're about to hear. The evidence you're about to receive concerning other crimes, wrongs, or acts allegedly committed by the defendant will be considered by you for the limited purpose of proving motive, opportunity, intent, plan, absence of mistake or accident, in corroboration of IS as to count 3, and motive as to counts 1 and 2, and you shall consider it only as it relates to those issues. However, the defendant is not on trial for a crime, wrong, or act that is not included in the indictment.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Mr. Hatch, did the defendant tell you that this niece who was pregnant with his baby had a sister?
Yes, sir.
What, if anything, did he tell you was going on between him and that sister?
He said he was having sex with his sister too.
Did he name that sister?
No, sir.
Now, did he say anything about how long he was having sex with her sister?
No, sir.
Did he indicate whether it was a one-time thing or whether it was a multiple-time thing? If he said,
No, sir.
did he just reference it with one comment?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did he say anything to you more about either what he did to his niece at his work or the sister? Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Now, Mr. Hatch, did you get moved out of the dorm shortly after this?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember approximately how long?
Probably like a month or two after that.
Did you decide to come forward with this information after that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you do that by writing a letter either to the state attorney's office or your lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Did a Detective Abbott come see you and discuss that with you?
Yes, sir.
Ms. French later come see you?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Hatch, in any of these meetings with Detective Abbott, with Ms. French, even myself, or any member of the state of Florida, the state attorney's office, has anybody ever promised you anything in exchange for this testimony?
No, sir.
You're certain of that?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Will you tell this jury if you're expecting or hoping for anything in exchange for this? Are you hoping that a court would recognize this at a later date? Would you say that?
No, sir.
All right. Will you explain, lastly, sir, why you came forward? What prompted you to make the decision? I'm going to go tell the state attorney's offices. Why?
Because I was talking about it with a dude I was locked up with in Baker County, and he told me it's a good idea to come forward with the information.
And did that take you some weeks to do that?
Yes, sir.
Why are you helping out then? Just because he told you, or did you make the decision yourself?
I just felt like it was wrong and it was the right thing to do.
Yes, sir. One moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hatch.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
All right.
All righty. Okay, let's get right into it. So you just told us about this conversation that you had with Mr. Quiles, and you told us that it was in February of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that would have been about a year and a half ago from now,
Yes, ma'am.
approximately.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You said that you had been in the Duval County Jail from about July of 2019.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I just said yes, ma'am.
Okay. Up until this time period when you had this conversation, and then maybe a couple months after that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Throughout that about 3-year period of time, you testified that you were housed in the same area as Mr. Quilles?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for that whole entire period of time, you were housed in the same area, meaning same dorm as him?
Not the whole 19, but probably like a year together.
Okay, do you recall being on one side of the 5th floor for most of 2020, all the way up until February of 2022?
Say that one more time.
You recall being on one side of the 5th floor of the Duval County Jail for most of 2020, all the way up until February of 2022?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you recall being on the same dorm as Mr. Quilles from 2020 all the way up until February of 2022?
We was housed together for about a year.
Okay, so out of that time period of 3 years, 2 of those years you were not housed in the same dorm as him.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do you recall coming into the same dorm as Mr. Quilles in February of 2022? Specifically, February 11th of 2022. Do you recall that time period being accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
On February 11th, 2022, when you came into the same dorm area as Mr. Quilles, you're telling us that this conversation happened sometime in that same month.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let me ask you about this Bible study. So you stated that you and Mr. Quilles attended this Bible study together regularly.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was throughout that entire time when you were housed in the same dorm.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that Bible study happens in that dorm, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't happen in some other area like cafeteria or something like that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It happens in that common area right where that dorm is, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you weren't in the same dorm, you wouldn't be in that same Bible study, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Who ran that Bible study? If you don't know his real name, you can give us the name you know him by.
The D.
All right. Brother D. Do you know his real name to be Ulysses Dixon?
I think so. I might make a mistake. I said I think so. If I ain't make a mistake, I always say Brother D.
All right. Thank you. And do you have a nickname that you go by?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that nickname Dino?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Throughout the time period that you were attending that Bible study, it's your testimony that Mr. Quilles was attending that Bible study along with you.
Yes, ma'am.
You guys would do that almost daily.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're confident that that time period was February of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't know the exact date in February, but it's in that 2-week period because you came February 11th through the end of that month, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you're telling this jury that after Bible study, that Bible study you all were going to day to day, Mr. Quilles broke down and kind of told you this story and these crimes that he committed.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk to you about your current situation. You're in custody currently, obviously.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you've already testified that you had 2 prior felony convictions, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're currently you have charges that are pending right now, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are those charges for?
A violation of probation in the federal facility.
Okay. And the basis of that charge, that probation is?
Probably about 2 to 3 years.
Okay. And you have a violation that's pending. You're waiting for sentencing on that.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's been pending for about how long? Do you know?
About since 2019.
Okay. So this has been pending pretty much the length of this court case.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And it's not been resolved yet because we're waiting on you to testify here today, aren't you?
No, ma'am.
You stated on direct that you have not been promised anything
Yes, ma'am.
and that you're actually not even hoping for anything whatsoever.
Yes, ma'am.
But actually, the way you even learned about how to contact the state attorney's office was from a person that you said you talked to who actually had cooperated with the state attorney's office before, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he actually explained to you how cooperation works, didn't he?
Nah, no, ma'am. He ain't not no.
He
ma'am.
actually taught, sorry, go ahead. Were you done? I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't realize you were still talking. Go ahead.
Nah, he never explained about the cooperation part.
He gave you instructions on how to contact the state's attorney's office to provide information on a case, correct?
Yeah, he told me how to get in contact with him.
He also told you about his cooperation in past cases, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
He told you how that went for him, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't know that information before talking to him.
Yes, ma'am.
And he actually talked to you about the benefit that it could be to your case if you were to testify, correct?
Yeah, no, he ain't never tell me that I'm gonna get nothing off for it. He just told me he got something off for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
He told you that the state says, we can't promise you anything, but then he told you that you get a note that says you've had substantial cooperation. Didn't he tell you that?
No, man, he ain't never told me that.
You attended that Bible study that you talked about and with Brother D running that for that time period, even after February of 2022, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I left the door in like April.
All right. And when you attend that Bible study, do you recall actually signing in to that Bible study on like a little sign-in sheet that Brother D had?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he would have you doing that daily, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you missed a few, he would follow up on you and say, hey, you haven't been to Bible study lately.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you came regularly, day to day to day, he would reward you. He would give you commissary and things like that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you find it shocking if the man who you just described came here and said that you and Mr. Quiles never attended that Bible study together?
Yeah, but
If he says, in fact, Mr. Quiles never really attended that Bible study until 2023, would that shock you?
no, ma'am.
Would it shock you that he actually would say, you and Mr. Quiles never interacted? That y'all weren't friends? That y'all had no relationship whatsoever? Would that shock you?
No, ma'am.
It wouldn't shock you because that's the truth, correct?
No, ma'am.
Nothing further.
Nothing further. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Hatch, good to see you, sir. State may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state would next call Detective Bidlick.
Getting good, y'all. They snitching. Oh, he can't snitch. Sorry.
Detective, good to see you, sir.
See you.
Watch your step as you come forward. If you need a glass of water, let us know. We'll do our best to accommodate you.
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Only thing I ask, if there's an objection made during the course of your testimony, just pause, let me roll in the objection. We'll go from there.
Certainly.
State may inquire, you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name.
My name is Robert Bidlick, Bydlik.
Thank you for pushing that microphone down just a tad. And who's your current employer?
I work for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
For how long?
15 years and a month or two.
What is your current assignment?
I work for the Zone 1 bike unit.
How long have you been with the bike unit?
A year and a half.
Prior to that, what was your assignment?
I did 3 months in patrol, and I did 11 months in the aggravated battery unit. I did 3.5 years in homicide, 3 years and change in aggravated battery, violent crimes task force, 2 months in burglary, 5.5 years in patrol.
Thank you, sir, for going down and doing a rundown.
No problem.
So during your tenure with JSO, I'm going to draw your attention back to literally 2 days before we get into 2019, and then in 2019, where were you assigned?
The homicide unit,
And what team were you on?
team 6.
Who was on team 6 at the time?
It was myself, Detective Billy Abbott, Detective Kenneth Guthrie, and Detective Samantha Dishman, and the sergeant was Sergeant Stephen Rudliff.
And was your partner at the time Detective Dishman?
Yes.
Now, Detective Bidlick, did you assist a part of your teammate, Detective Abbott, with the case involving defendant Jonathan QUILES and victim IS?
Yes.
Now, was the defendant Jonathan QUILES arrested on January 8th, 2019?
I believe he was arrested for unrelated charges.
Was he arrested in early January?
Yes.
Okay. And were you at the sheriff's office during that time the defendant was arrested?
Yes, I was.
Did you recognize that individual if you were to see him again?
I've seen him multiple times, yes.
Okay. Could you please look about the courtroom if you see the person you came to know as Jonathan QUILES?
Yes, it's the gentleman sitting over there with the defense and the glasses.
And what color shirt?
It's blue.
Your Honor, let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
So reflected.
Now, Detective Bidlick, before we get to that situation, did you actually assist with multiple different things throughout the tenure of this case?
Yes, I did.
And did one of those include doing a canvas in the area of Terry Parker High School?
Yes.
And and I believe, did you and Detective Dishman do that together?
I think there was quite a few people out there. I don't recall exactly who I was with. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But you recall doing that?
Yes, I do.
And were you all looking to see if anyone had seen IS or some video surveillance?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to find anything regarding IS?
I don't believe so, no.
Now, drawing you back now to when the defendant was arrested in early of January 2019, was there a decision to do something at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that?
It was to introduce a wire into the jail.
And was this, oh, I'm sorry, sir, go ahead. Were you saying something?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I apologize. I thought I was interrupting you, sir. And was this done prior to the defendant even arriving at the jail?
Yes, it was.
And during this time frame, did you do a lot of the wire situations with the Duval County Jail?
Yes, ma'am. I had used the same gentleman previously, so I was very comfortable with them, and they understood when I would call them down. They understood that we were probably looking at somebody for a homicide, so there was very little conversation with them about what we really needed. They needed a routine, basically.
And is the individual that you're speaking of Morris McClendon?
Yes.
And since this occurred, has Morris McClendon passed?
Yes, ma'am.
However, was there someone else that you learned that was present during the wire?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that?
George Jackson.
However, who is the individual that you actually gave the wire to?
Morris McClendon.
And is that the individual that you spoke with?
Yes.
Now, when you spoke with Morris McClendon, would this have been on January the 9th, 2019?
Yes.
And did you give him any information? And if so, what did you tell him?
I kept it very simple with, I call him Mo, with Mo. He's worked a couple other cases with me before, so it was very simple. Hey, I'm going to put a guy in here in the cell with you. If he starts talking about a homicide, just, you know what to do.
And that was just based on working with this individual previously?
Correct.
And beyond stating that the individual, was that Jonathan QUILES?
Yes, ma'am.
Was his name given?
I believe I might have shown him a picture. I usually show a picture just so they know exactly who we're talking about.
All right. So just to be clear, you would show a picture and then you stated that he is a suspect. Did you state that he's a suspect in a homicide?
So we're looking at him for an involvement in a crime, usually. They knew that we were with the homicide unit, so you really didn't have to tell them that, they knew it wasn't their first time. They've worked 5 or 6 cases for us before.
Okay, so it was implied.
Yes.
All right. And beyond that, was any other information given to Morris McClendon?
No.
Now, on January the 10th, 2019, did you go to the Duval County Jail?
Yes,
And did you obtain that wire?
I did.
And did you bring that wire then back to the sheriff's office?
Certainly did.
And then at that time, did you and then the lead detective, Detective Abbott, and the rest of the team members listen to it?
Yeah, I believe I listened to it first, and then I was like, ooh, okay, he probably needs to hear this. And I said, hey, you need to listen to this right here.
And you passed it on?
Right.
And obviously Detective Abbott was the lead, and he was
Wow.
the one that would then go from there.
Correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Been good, y'all. Getting better and better. State getting ready to rest their case.
Good afternoon.
Just real quick, when you met with, as you said, Mo, to set this up, you kind of went over the ground rules about what to do and things like that, right?
It was very brief. So I was introduced to Mo probably a year prior to that, maybe even a little bit longer. And he had worked 2 other cases for me prior to this one.
Okay.
So Mo knew the ground rules.
Did you give him some specific direction? Okay. In this, when you were setting him up for the wire, with how it's set up in the equipment you give them, forgive me, I think it's in their shirt, jersey, or whatever.
It's basically, it looks like a Zippo lighter,
Okay, is that,
and they put it wherever they put it.
that's the new one now?
That's the one that I had back then.
Okay. Are they able to turn that on and off?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if there's a break in there, in that, Mo was able to turn this on, turn it off, and control what part of the conversation was recorded, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you don't know, once you give it to him, does he give you a signal and say when we're ready, or do you go and get him and bring him out?
If I haven't heard from him, I usually check the following day. A lot of times I get a phone call from a female that says, hey, Mo needs you at the jail.
Okay. And in this case, you got that call?
I'm not 100% sure in this case, sir. I'm sorry. I believe it was the following day. So it's a possibility I got a call late that evening, or I just went and picked it up the following day.
Okay. May I have a second with counsel, Judge?
Mm-mm.
No, thank you. I'm good. Thank you very much.
They so kind in that court. For them water and stuff. Jonathan through, y'all. Jonathan Quilles, Uncle Jonathan Quilles. Put her body in the dumpster.
Just a couple of quick follow-ups.
Yes, sir.
Since Morris McClendon is the one that was controlling it, you don't know if and when he turned it off, if there were any threats in between or anything like that to get the statements that he was looking to get on tape, right?
I have no idea what was said when it wasn't on.
Okay. And you have no idea as to, other than George Jackson and Morris McClendon, who else was present either, do you?
I haven't listened to the wire in quite some time, but I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Detective, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Take care. Have a good day.
State can call your next witness.
George Jackson is the next witness state to call, Your Honor.
Look at John. whispering.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Mr. Jackson, good morning to you, sir. Or, excuse me, good afternoon to you. Just take over here to your right, watch your step. If you need a glass of water, let us know. We'll do our best to accommodate you. If there's an objection made during the course of your testimony, I just ask that you let me rule on the objection before you begin talking. Okay? With that said, state your name, quiet, you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury, please, sir?
George Jackson.
And George Jackson, do you live here generally in Duval County?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long you lived in the area?
My whole life.
And how old are you today?
40.
40?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you do for a living?
I do music.
Okay, just make sure we put the microphone a little bit closer to your soft spoke.
Music engineer.
Thank you, sir. And how long you been doing that?
Like 10 years.
Oh. Now, Mr. Jackson, are you a 3-time convicted felon?
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, are you on probation for one of those felonies today?
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to go through your criminal history a little bit and then we'll move on. Okay, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, back in August of 9th, 2018, were you arrested for the case that you're on probation for, which is organized fraud?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's a first-degree felony that's punishable up to 30 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time that you were arrested on August 9th, 2018, did you have a pending violation of probation case?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that involve 2 felonies? Scheme to defraud, again, another first-degree felony up to 30 years, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And accompanied with that was defrauding a financial institution, a second-degree felony up to 15 years, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so during that time frame from August 9th, 2018, were you in custody then through September 12th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that when you ultimately entered a plea to both of these cases?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you have been then in custody in the month of January 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you receive a sentence of 9 months Duval County Jail, even though you had spent 13 months in jail? Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that followed by 7 years of probation?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that what you're on probation today?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, and also too, Mr. Jackson, have you cooperated on other cases with the state attorney's office?
Yes, ma'am.
And however, is this the first time that you have ever testified?
Yes, ma'am.
However, have you given a deposition before in other cases?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just going to give a quick rundown and you tell me if these are cases that you have cooperated with. Would that involve the co-defendant case of O'Neill, O''Neil, Exantus, EXANTUS, and David Robinson? Did you cooperate in that case?
Yes, ma'am.
Those 2 cases, I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, is those 2 cases still pending?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's okay if you don't know. If you don't know the answer, it's okay. You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Yes, sir. And did you cooperate in the case of State of Florida versus Antonius, ANTONIOUS, Burney, BURNEY? Did you cooperate in that case, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that still pending?
I'm not sure either.
And did you cooperate?
Go ahead, Ms. French.
Of course, no.
Done. Jonathan, that's great. Oh, what? I'll make sure you're good. Oh, yeah, I'm good. Man, you want me to let it go or something? Nah, I'm good, man. You sure? Yeah, I ain't break. I want to make sure it's great.
Now, Mr. Jackson, who's talking right now?
Me.
And again, I'll just do this a couple times and then I will stop.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Oh, well, still raises on the floor. Oh, sorry.
Now, Mr. Jackson, who's the individual that is saying, yeah, I'm good, man?
The captain.
You all that sleeping, you stayed up all night. Now you want to sleep. Now you want to motherfucker sleep. You done got your ass up. Shit. Yeah, you bitches that brother. You need to talk to you later for lockdown. Me? Yeah, she fell asleep. Yeah, she didn't want, we was gonna talk tomorrow anyway. She come down? No, I don't think she's coming over the phone.
Who's talking right now, Mr. Jackson?
She's mad at us right now. She's mad what? Come to visit us? She mad about this one. She's upset with everything. Whole damn thing. Well, hopefully it'll be worked out in a couple of days.
Who's talking right now, Mr. Jackson?
That's Morris.
I'm sorry?
Morris McClendon.
Is it fair to say that Morris McClendon has the like higher pitched, louder voice?
Dark, yeah, deeper.
Deeper?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I'll ask you just one more time and then I'll sit down.
Yeah. And really, like, I don't know what lawyer they had you, but I don't see why your lawyer ain't fucking come talk to you. Yeah, this is it now. I'm the news, B. How the news go talk to your lady and your lawyer ain't here? Yeah, that's bullshit. Yeah, for real. You know what I'm saying? Now, that was a public defender, yeah, that'd be different. But we talking about a fucking lawyer. Who made for the lawyer? I think she's gonna think. Oh, so that's why you yeah, what? I guess she that's what that's what I thought too, but when I yesterday, who got the lawyer? Yeah, she was like, I got the lawyer.
Who's talking right now, Mr. Johnson?
Excuse me. I got the lawyer. Yeah, I'll go back. Hey, so what you talking about now? Cause I didn't want.
Who is that, Mr. Jackson?
That's me.
All right, let's sit down.
I didn't want to talk while it was up. My wife, she said they came to the house. The detectives came over to the house. The news reporters. Oh, they came to the house, yeah. Y'all got a dog calling the phone, leaving messages and shit like that. What are they saying? You already locked up. So what else do they want? Yeah, they have my they put my picture on the news. Yeah. Oh, what? What the fuck is they on the news for? Yeah. I don't understand. You here? They ain't got you. Yeah, they put it's putting pretty much what I was charged with and everything on there. They have what they think about the other shit too? They who? My wife said that that's what the detective told her. That's the news. She said she getting a lot of information from the news thing from the news on TV. But she said the detective is the one that wants to tell them about pretty much all the bullshit, Well, what you gonna do? Well, man, that's the $1 million question. That's the $1 million question. You up against a lot, man. I know they put you back. They really put you on this fucking bullshit anyway. They back you into a coma, but you gotta react, bro. You can't sit here and not fight back. Stop laying down, man. That's all shit. Okay. I don't told you. Oh shit. Sitting here like the dog on up in there 4.5 years. Ain't been to court yet. Oh man. This shit, yeah, man. You crazy don't give a fuck about you in Jacksonville, man. I don't even give a fuck. I ain't gonna. No. You don't give a fuck. You want something to eat, man? Anything in much of it? No, I'm good. Sure. It's gonna be a long night tonight, bro. You eat since 5 o'clock. He ain't nothing but vegetable. Man, you something, boy. About you? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, man, I know how you feel, though. I know one thing, how you feel. It's no lie when you talk loud. You don't really know us. You know us from the can of paper. That's like the police. I wish you didn't come to my cell. You feel me? But y'all could have stayed here. We could end up this canteen. End up all this butt. Y'all already was scared away. But I told you already, and I swear to God, I ain't talking about this shit. This what he said. This what he say. He said, well, I was telling him, he said he knows when people come in and start talking. I'm like, that's right, but you know who talking about, I'm not talking about. He was like, I know, well, it's mandatory. Listen, I said, I know certain people, it's hard to talk about. He was like, yeah, they probably set up all the time. You know, I told you that, he's exactly right. But the difference is, if they take us out this cell and put people in this cell, then he got something to worry about. We was in, you came in. I didn't told him that. And now I told you, we had my already in the bed. You wasn't even finna come here. If Mo wouldn't have been a nice guy and let you come here because he was in the wrong boat, I didn't give a fuck. If it was a cracker, we came to luckily, they didn't change him in the system. He was supposed to be in our boat. Man, you didn't see that about him? But I need to hear no that. Okay. That's what happened though. So he was like, man, you gotta pray. And that doctor said, what's called? He said that he's not talking to me. Yes, he is. Man, but he's out here. Because it's God we said it needs to reach a message to him. You know what I'm saying? Definitely right. But he just gotta react. Like, bro, like, yo, what are you? I'm not gonna sit up and say that I know how you feel, because, boy, you up against some shit. Yeah. That shit serious. But I know one motherfucker, man. Gotta do something about this shit. This is over. That shit is over. Hey, I got bumps back my neck. You know what shit? No, really? That's all, bro. I know you feel like that. You uncomfortable something, but you got to try to do something. Do something, try to help yourself. You even go to the choice. You feel what? That's how I got no other choice. I told you, shit. I did what I can do today. I told you, you got him running around. But he just doing this, doing that, doing that. But he made it. Because at first, I had him still make the call for him. But the spot that he went at, it wasn't nothing. Man, I didn't trust too much because I don't know how, you know about this shit? Yeah, you know something, brother, you know, snitching. Okay, that's my brother. Yeah, so, yeah, what, I ain't home, boy. Yeah, listen, let me put this right.